just would take a moment to get comfortable, take that centering breath, allowing yourself to just allow the peace of this moment to rest upon you and you to rest into it. Sometimes life can be so busy, so much to do. Some of the most powerful and special times are where we just take a pause and we look within into that secret place, into that presence that upholds us, strengthens us, and keeps us. That source of our faith, our love, our life, our strength, our wisdom, our understanding. So much, all that we need, we find in that presence. And we rest into that presence. Just as you would if you were floating on top of a calm pond or lake. We just rest back into that grace of presence. Allowing that peace that passes all understanding to just flow in you and through you out into this space, and we rest into that. And we take a moment to enter into the stillness, into the silence, and allow ourselves just to settle in and rest in this moment. And as we come back to this moment in this service, I pray that each one of us is sensing that strength, our hearts open in this special time that we share together every Sunday. I'm so thankful, so much gratitude for this community, for each and every one of you that is in this place this morning. We are each other's strength. We are each other's encouragement. And we are all one in unity. And so it is. Amen. I appreciate the opportunity to share with you this morning. And this month, August, can you believe it's already August? We are teaching on one of the 12 powers, will, and so I'm going to endeavor to share a little bit of things that came up for me. Empowering will, our choice is our voice. Our little teaser this week said, our choice is our voice. We may think that what we do has little effect on the world at large, but nothing could be further from the deeper truth. Let us get in touch with how each one of us contributes to the world we are creating. But before we get into all of that, let's start with a joke. That enables me to step on your toes a little bit, and you'll be, you're still thinking about, hopefully still thinking fondly of the joke. There was a man who was lost on a deserted island for several years, for about 5 years. And when he was finally found by the rescuers, they noticed that he had 3 really nice buildings that he had built over the 5 years on the island. And so he was taking them for a tour before he finally left this deserted island. And he said, this building, this is my home, one of the first things I built. And they said, "Oh, you've done a really nice job." And then he takes them to the next building and said, "This is my church. This is where I, have services every week." And then that's all he said. And they're like, "Well, what's that third building?" He goes, "Oh, that's my old church." Okay. Okay. To will is to choose. It is the spiritual capacity to say yes or no and align oneself with divine goodness. Our will is our ability to say yes or no and come in alignment with our highest good. I would ask us this morning, what is the thing causing us to choose what we are choosing? Combining the power of will or choice with wisdom, with understanding, with love, you may recognize some of those over the last few months, can take our lives in a whole new direction. I think every one of us understand that we are all headed in a direction in our life, hopefully growing, hopefully expanding as our life unfolds, and hopefully going into a higher good, to a better place in our lives. No doubt there's things, if I was to ask each one of you things that you would like to see changed. But I want to encourage you, we're not talking about fixing you or fixing your life. We're really talking about discovering the truth of who you are and discovering the truth of how to continue to see the fullness of life unfold in your life. Emily Cady says in Lessons of Truth, I love the Lessons of Truth, what is desire? Desire in the heart is always God tapping at the door of your consciousness with his infinite supply, a supply that is forever useless unless there is a demand for it. And I love that because I come from a tradition myself where, I don't know if any of you else can agree with this, but will was the will of God. And you really didn't never know what God wanted for you. And your spiritual journey, your life was trying to figure that out and find that out. And I guess at the end, when you stood before St. Peter, you found out whether he said, "Hey, good job, you figured it out." A question that I didn't ask myself for many years in that tradition, and if anyone's listening who's still in that tradition, I'd ask yourself this question. If that was the journey, why did he make it so hard? Why is it written in languages and in ways that just makes it so difficult to figure it out? Well, the simple answer is because that is not what it's about. When I'm talking about will this morning, I'm not talking about trying to find some hidden plan for your life. I'm talking about allowing the discovery of the fullness of who you are, not even who you're meant to be, but who you actually are. Every day should be a discovery. Are you discovering things about yourself every day? And then how do we walk those things out in our life? This morning's lesson is going to be just some practical things that I want to share with you of how to do that. But Emily Cady was talking about here that if you have a desire in your heart, that is the potential of God within you wanting to bring forth something that is you, that is an unfolding, if you will, of you. We're not trying to get a God off somewhere to do something that we need done in our life here and now. We're allowing what's already in us to be expressed through us, to be birthed into our life. And that's where will comes in. Because as Emily Cady says, it's not just enough to have the desire. You've also got to add some feet to that. You've got to add some action to that. And that's where will comes in. That's when you start choosing yes. And actually, you're going to find that there's going to be a thread of the other 12 powers in here throughout. And to me, that's what faith is, the yes, the saying yes. It's not about pleasing a difficult God or finding the golden ticket of what God's will is. It's flowing with spirit of who you and what you already are. It's an inside job. It's actually, if you just listen for a moment, you'll feel that potential, that limitless movement that desires to bring something out. You know, and I know it's this way when speaking sometimes or doing different things. You know, when you get in the flow, and I know musicians experience this, you know, where it's just easy and it's just going. And you know it's not you. Not totally you. It is you, but you know it's not something you worked up in your own ability and strength. That's when you're in the flow, right? It's flowing with the spirit of who and what you already are. It's an inside job, as I said. How do we know what's empowering this will, this choice that we're making in our life to see the highest good performed? I've said many times, and I'll say again this morning, that whenever I'm praying for myself, whenever I'm praying for you, I'm praying for your highest good. I'm praying for my highest good. I don't always know what that is. And actually, I find myself getting in trouble when I try to define that. And I also find that I'm limited when I do that. So how do we know what's empowering our will? It's by the thoughts and feelings we are having. These are the clues to what's going on inside of us. We've talked about this, and I know this is one of the things that this transformed my life. And I'm so thankful for this community. I'm so thankful for that lady sitting in the front who taught me some of this in the very beginning about, I grew up, you didn't express emotion. You didn't express what you felt. Actually, you'd get in trouble if you did. You know, I could remember, and I know ill will, Mom's probably watching, so I'm not talking about you, Mom, I'm talking about Dad. My dad, he did the best he could with what he had and who he was. But if you got a spanking and you're crying, he would say, "Dry it up, or I'll give you something to cry about." And I'd be like, "You just did?" And and it wasn't even so much words spoken. I think it's just that generation you were taught to withhold, especially even more so for men. You don't express emotion. And so I spent most of my life, and I'm sad to say, 50-something years, we won't get into the exact number. I'll be 59 this month. I don't mind you knowing that number. I'm just not going to tell you how many years it was I had till I got this. But where I found out that what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking, getting in touch with that is my superpower. It is the pivotal point of transformation, of healing, of wholeness. And the funny thing is human nature, we resist negative feelings. We resist things that make us uncomfortable. We resist things that we don't fully understand. And by doing that, we may be resisting or pushing through or just getting over the very things that could release transformation for our highest good. Yes. We are pushing back against the very thing that will set us free, to walk out into the fullness of the life that we are and that we are meant to have and experience. Now, we say this statement a lot. We say we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And that's true. But what does that mean exactly? And that's what I want to get into a little bit. So this is getting into the meat of my talk this morning. Our true selves, our very essence, is spiritual. And our human experience is the life that we're living now. So, and I'm not talking about something dualistic. The problem with the human mind sometimes is when you get looking at some of the, trying to understand how things work, you have to break it into pieces and parts. But I hope you understand that there are no parts to this. Both my divinity and my humanity, both my spiritualness and my humanness are one. And yet, to understand how to practically walk it out, we're going to bring it into two different pieces. So there is the human part of me, and that's who you know, Mike, with the personality that I have, or don't have, or that you wish I had, or whatever. You know, some people have larger ones. We won't mention any names. Trish, oh, I'm sorry. But that's who we get to know. That's my human experience here. That's my walk here. That's how I show up every day at work, show up here in church, how I show up anywhere. And it's awesome. But then behind that, there's something much deeper, much more real, much more eternal. And that's the spiritual being that I am and that you are. And Eckhart Tolle calls it the observer. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but one of the most powerful things I've learned when I'm feeling things or thinking too much or whatever my human self is dealing with today, I do this thing I call taking a step back. And what I mean by that is, it's not even a conscious thing. It's just, the observer takes a step back and looks at Mike and looks at what he's thinking and looks at what he's feeling. And out of that spiritual part of me is where all the 12 powers reside. Sometimes resist. They reside. And they can come forth, and we can draw from them just as a well for whatever we need. I want you to understand that if you need wisdom, if you need understanding, if you need love, you're dealing with somebody who's difficult to love, that's there. You can draw that out of your spirit because it's always there. You are always that. You may not always be experiencing it. You may not always be walking it out. You may be doing a poor job of walking it out. You may be doing a great job. But that's that dance that we do between our humanity and our divinity, our spiritualness and our humanity. And we see in the person of Jesus someone who had that down of walking in that what almost appears dualistic, but it's really not. You wouldn't see me and say, "Hey, how's the human Mike doing today?" Nor would you say, "How's the spirit Mike doing today?" You just know it as Mike, right? So, all right. Like I said, the human mind uses labels, concepts, and frameworks to help explain complex truths. It's what religions are. Religions are just different languages trying to describe the same thing, and different frameworks. Some frameworks works better for some people than other people. And so when I'm talking to people who are back where I used to be, I don't assume my spiritual self-righteousness and say, "Oh, I'm so glad." Actually, Jesus had a talk about that where he talked about the guy lifting his hands and saying, "I'm so glad I'm not like them." I've heard us do that in unity sometimes. Oops. Should I go back to the joke? But I can look at someone else's walk and say, "You know what, that's not for me." But for whatever reason, that framework works for them. And I can love them where they're at. One thing that I firmly believe is everybody walks in what light they have. My prayer is that we all gain more light, that we all gain more understanding, because none of us have arrived yet. I remember I was buying a book at a Christian bookstore years ago, and the lady who owned the store, they didn't believe like we did. So when she saw the book that I ordered, she said, "You believe this?" And I said, well, and you'll forgive my ignorance even then, right? I said, well, when we all get to heaven, we'll all learn how wrong we are. None of us got it all figured out. Okay. Our higher self or spiritual self operates with the wisdom, the understanding that we can practically apply as truths to our human life. And that's what we do. You might even call this parenting. One of the things that I've learned in the last few years, Trish, is Mike needs some parenting. No offense, Mom, I know you're watching. There are things in my life that for whatever reason I didn't get. And so sometimes I'm parenting myself, teaching myself some things and learning some things. And it's not just Mike, it's every one of us in here. We all have some things to learn, some things to grow into. And there is that part of being parented, being taught, being guided, being led. The question is, who's doing the teaching, the leading, and the guiding? Because we also could get stuck in old stories and old ways and old mindsets, and we keep getting the same results and we keep wondering why. Keep dating the same person, just a different face, right? Keep having the same financial results in our life. Keep finding ourselves dealing with the same things over and over. And I tell you, one of the most powerful truths, and I can't help that it's a Dr. Phil thing, but it's something that has stuck with me. How's that working for you? I cannot tell you how many times I ask myself, well, Mike, how's that working for you? If it's not, something needs to change. And that's where will comes in. I can choose something different. If you come out here on what is this, 66? And you go down to 27 and you make a left, you may be meaning to go to Okeechobee, but you can drive to your little heart's content. You can make all the positive affirmations you want. You can call everybody to pray with you. You're not going to reach Okeechobee going down 27 North, right? You're going the wrong way. You needed to make a different choice. All right. Our higher self or spiritual self operates with wisdom and understanding to practically apply the truths to our human lives. That's where the 12 powers come in. The spiritual part is the observer, or like I said, we might even call them the parent. The human part of us is the observed. We might say the child. And I've learned in my life to take that step back and let the bigger self watch what the little self is doing and give a little guidance and direction. Parent a little bit. And you do it daily. And the secret is when you become aware of what is available in the higher self, in the Christ within, that all the answers that you need, all the guidance you need is a resource, is a well inside you. And all you got to do is take a step back and get quiet, stop resisting and pushing, and just getting real with yourself for a moment. Sometimes as a parent, you got to say things to your kids or do things, and I remember Mom telling me, this hurts me more than it does you. And I'd say, well, then don't do it. Don't want you suffering, Mom. And I was the type of child that lectures were the hardest thing for me. Mom will tell you if she was here of a time that I said, just spank me. Don't talk to me, just spank me. And we're all like that a little bit spiritually sometimes. We don't want to have those rough talks with ourselves. My old job, we worked with young people, and there's certain difficult young people we would have, and we would call it having a sidewalk conversation. In other words, we'd say, hey, let's go for a walk. We don't want to say everything we're about to say in the office. We're going to have a talk outside so that we can get honest and get real. And sometimes we have to do that with ourselves. Eckhart Tolle said this in his Power of Now. Be present as the watcher of your mind, of your thoughts, emotions, as well as your reactions in various situations. Be at least as interested in your reactions as in the situation or person that's causing you to react. Notice also how often your attention is in the past or the future. Don't judge or analyze what you observe. Watch the thought, feel the emotion, observe the reaction. Don't make a personal problem out of them. You will then find something more powerful than any of those that you observe. The still, observing presence itself behind the content of the mind, the silent watcher. When the higher self steps back and becomes the observer, you step into that place of power, that place of potential, that place we know as the Christ. And that's where transformation, that's where powerful things can happen. That's where you can get guidance, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, where'd that come from? Where'd that idea come from? Hadn't thought about doing it that way. Because all of a sudden you got quiet and still. So how do we practice this and empower our choices to align with our highest good? Well, if you take the word, we're going to do an acronym. Take the word love, L-O-V-E. The first one, look. Witness your thoughts, emotions, and physical sensations objectively, as if you are an outside observer. So the first thing you do is look, what am I feeling? What's going on here? And I'm not doing it in judgment. I'm not saying, Mike, there you go again. No, I'm just looking at what is it I'm thinking? What is it I'm feeling? What's going on here? I'm looking at it. The second one, the second letter O, own it. Acknowledge that these feelings and reactions are yours without projecting them onto others or making excuses. That's the hard part, right? Own them. It doesn't matter who to blame. It's you owning them because I'm feeling this. You know, we sometimes say, they made me feel this way. No. They did something, it triggered you, and you felt that way. And maybe if they hadn't been there, you wouldn't have felt it, but at the same time, they can't make you feel anything. Our feelings are our own. And there again, that's not a judgment. Why am I feeling? Because you might find, hey, you know what, I'm feeling this way because I should feel this way. I ask myself a lot of times, how would anybody else feel in this situation? Is what I'm feeling a legitimate, real thing to feel? I might find out I'm right. I need to get out of a situation or get out of a relationship or get out of a situation if it's legitimate. But I also may find that it's rooted in a story that I tell myself. This always happens. Every time I get a raise, something comes along and takes a little bit of more money out of my check. That's a story I'm telling myself. I don't know why I went there, so maybe it was for somebody who needed to hear it. Own it. Acknowledge that these feelings and reactions are yours. Third letter, V. Value. Recognize the underlying need or the lesson that the emotion is trying to show you. Not only do you not want to project, you want to own that feeling and you don't want to project it and try to excuse it away, you actually want to understand it has value. It has worth. You see why I was saying that everything we keep talking about, it's all around me, or all in my message this morning? Value. Even if it's a negative emotion that someone's triggered, that has value because that's teaching me something. Maybe I'm in a relationship and I don't like how it's going, and I won't stand up and just tell someone that, because if I did, maybe they'd say, hey, I see that, you're right. Or they may not, right? But if I value that, it's something that is there to tell me something, to teach me something, to show me something. But see, all of this takes an act of will. I am choosing to look. I am choosing to own. I am choosing to value. Because I can also choose not to do any of these things, and I do often not choose. The fourth one, E, embrace. Hold yourself in unconditional compassion, integrating the experience rather than rejecting it. I'm going to get real vulnerable here with you and share something very personal. I know that never happens on this stage, but one of the things that I have learned and I value so much, like I said, and a lot of it's come from Trish, is understanding these different parts of me. And Trish mentioned last week about IFS, and I'm going to tell you, I love IFS. It has completely revolutionized my life. And I understand that there's different parts of me, that there is a inner child, we'll call it. There's a little Mike. I call him Mikey. And I call him Mikey because everybody wanted to call me Mikey when I was little, so it works. And that little Mikey, he stuck back there in his early childhood. And there was things that I experienced back then that still stick with me. Things will trigger it. And it's not about right or wrong. It's, a kid just feels what they feel. Doesn't mean that things should have been done different or better or anything. I'm not, there's no judgment in it. It's just reality. I'm accepting and valuing that. And so what I have found, though, is that in order to cope with life, in order to feel safe in life, Mikey learned certain things to get him through. There were stories he started telling himself to comfort himself. There are different things he would do to comfort himself. And that's just the reality of it. And one of the things that I've learned to do is now, Michael, grown up Mike, at fixing to be 59 years old, has learned some lessons since 5 years old. But Michael, sometimes, the human part of me, is being driven by some of those stories and some of those things from my childhood, from little Mikey. But now, what I've learned is that in the Spirit, there's no time nor distance. Big Michael, can come over, pick up little Mikey, and hold him. And can say to him, yes, I know what you feel. I know what you felt. I know what you've been through. And I love you. But you don't have to do that anymore. I'll take care of it. I will take it from here. The adult me is in charge. And I'm going to tell you, church, I've never felt such healing as I held little Mikey. And what I found out, and this is just a side note, this is no extra charge. There's also a teenage Mike. I've learned there's even a pastor Mike from my former pastorate. Different things I learned, different ideas. I used to get my identity from being up here. I felt like if I did certain things, God would accept me. I've had to hold that pastor Mike and say, you did the best you could. That's what you were taught. That's what you knew. We know better now. We can love past that. Look, own, value, and embrace. And in that time of embrace, when you're looking at that feeling, when you're looking at whatever it is, and you're embracing it, you're loving it, you're feeling it, you're allowing it to express. It's one of the reasons why therapy works, because you sit and you talk it out. You face it, and you feel it, and you release it. It's one of the reasons it works. It's not because there's some special magic formula. It's that you are actually owning it and expressing it. And hopefully the person sitting across from you is showing you that you can look at it, you can own it, you can value it, and you can embrace it. And what happens is little Mikey starts relaxing. And big Michael stops being triggered by some of the things he used to. And we call that healing. We call that wholeness. Not because little Mikey needed to be fixed, but because little Mikey didn't really understand who he really is and all that he really is. This is good stuff. I did learn that in ministry. If they won't amen you, amen yourself, Learning to sit with what is going on inside you and give it space to tell you and reveal a truth is the powerful ability for growing into the full potential in our lives. When we live from this place, we are able to choose from a higher spiritual self. Christian scriptures call this being led by the Spirit. It's our choice what unfolds in our life. What do we will for our life? What do we choose? And if you find yourself choosing the wrong thing, find that part of you and love on them a little bit. And allow yourself to come to a greater understanding that you are whole. You already have within you all that you'll ever need. This is a healing journey, not to fix what is broken, but to reveal and discover what we really and fully are. This brings about healing and wholeness, which is not about a particular outcome, but about alignment with the divine, the truth of life, which is our highest good. We walk this out one step at a time, one choice at a time. Sometimes we make powerful choices, sometimes not such good choices, but we always have the power, the ability to choose better and discover more of the truth of who we really are. And as I look out in this congregation this morning, I see Christ in you. Namaste. So it is.
Thank you for joining us today. Please visit www.unityofsebring.org for more information, to submit a prayer request, or to donate to our ministry. We hope to see you again very soon.